Welcome to the Ultra World Podcast, the soccer fan's voice from the stands, with your hosts, Marc and Sean Castles, coming to you from Radio Waves Studios in New York City. Now, let's kick off the show.
Well, hi again, everybody. I am indeed Marc and Sean Castles to my immediate right, even if you can't see him. And today we are joined by Devin and Jordan, a.k.a. the Soccer Sharps. Sean?
That's right. I've been a longtime fan of Devin and Jordan, been listening for over a year now, listening to their soccer gambling podcast. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So I'm going to dive right in here. We're going to go on this show. We talk a lot about soccer fandom. While we love watching all the games, we know that Marc and I are not actually soccer players. We don't have tons of experience. So we're taking it really more from the fandom side. So I kind of want to get in and explore that with you guys. How did you guys get into soccer?
You want to go first? I'll go first. I'm the older brother. I was born first. I'll talk first.
Yeah.
Our father played soccer up until sort of a semi-pro level in his college days and a little bit beyond. So it was sort of in the family for a while. And then I played as a kid all the way through into high school, but never beyond that until I was much older and started an indoor men's league, which was embarrassing to tell you the truth. But so it was sort of from a young age, it was in the family. But for me personally, it wasn't until the 2006 World Cup when I caught the World Cup fever, and that was sort of the catalyst, because before that, it was really hard to get soccer over here. You just didn't see much of it on TV except for World Cups, and even then you had to watch it in the Spanish stations. It was just hard to find. So not until about 2006 did I get into it, but at a serious level. Dev?
Yeah, and I remember waking up bleary-eyed on some Saturday mornings, and you'd come out and our dad would have on some European game in Spanish. It was the only channel they had, so Telemundo screaming, "Goal!" No idea what they're talking about, but it was a fun sort of bonding experience. And then similar to I never really played the game. I was more of a basketball player. I didn't really play soccer at a high level. I just watched it and was a fan. And I was really into I guess it was the era. The names I think of are first Ronaldinho was the guy who just made me fall in love with the game, and I'm still looking for someone that can replace him. And I'm not sure that'll ever happen.
That may not happen.
Exactly. And Thierry Henry was around, Samuel Eto'o. It was just before the Messi and Ronaldo, Clásicos came around. So I remember that was sort of when I started to get into it, and I was really into the FIFA game and started following along. And then I remember actually in 2006, I was in Germany. I had just graduated high school, and we went on a post high school graduation trip, and it was to Europe, and we traveled around Europe and started in Germany, and the World Cup was there, and that was phenomenal. Didn't get to go to any games, but just the fan zones, they'd have you you got to take free kicks in a park in Dusseldorf and stuff, and you could just go and just enjoy the game, and it was so welcoming and inviting, and really enjoyed it ever since, just as a fan. And then we didn't really get into doing our podcast and stuff until much later.
Both Marc and I, it was the World Cup. I'm a little older, so it was really more the 98. But I was in France when the 98 World Cup came in. Did you see, it was the city erupting? I literally witnessed an entire town in Aix-en-Provence, people dancing in the fountains when they won. And did Germany won that year, right? 2006 or?
No, 2006 was
Italy.
I want to say that was France again.
Oh, okay. It was France again. It was
No,
2010.
Italy. It was the Zidane headbutt. It was Italy beat France in the final.
That's the one.
You're right.
I'm embarrassed I didn't remember
100% correct.
Well, there was a crazy game. I remember this specifically because we traveled through Europe. So the cup was in Germany, but I remember a night we had tickets for Moulin Rouge, and we were in France, and I think they were playing Brazil, I want to say, in a quarter or semi. game, and you couldn't do anything. Like, you couldn't order a drink at the bar because everybody was just watching the game, and the streets were filled with people just looking through windows. And somebody, Patrick Vieira, I think, may have scored a header, and their eruption of all the streets was incredible. That was a great memory for sure.
It's like a rock concert. There's nothing that's like it in America. Not even the NCAA tournament, nothing like that in college campuses. Nothing can come close to it.
No.
So how did you guys actually start the soccer podcast? Like, I'm sure the fandom built, and not only a soccer podcast, like soccer gambling. Like, how did that all come together?
Well, it probably starts, the gambling came first, but not actually.
As it often does.
Right. We, so we had been into soccer, as we explained, for quite a while at that point. And then as a side, had gotten into sports gambling, mostly through NFL, but pretty casually. And it still wasn't legal out in Arizona yet. So we were doing some offshore stuff. But eventually the books did come to AZ, and it was right around COVID times. And when everything shut down, one of the first things to come back was the German Bundesliga.
Oh, yeah.
If I remember this correctly. And we were just having so much fun I think Dev and I actually had COVID at the same time. And we're on our parents' couch just hanging out, and all there was Bundesliga. And we could bet on it. So we got to watch our soccer, we got to bet on it, and we just got super wrapped up in it. And because it was lockdown and there wasn't much to do, we just kind of really dove into it and started, really getting into the stats, kind of honing our craft and we don't really call ourselves experts, but, handicappers, if you will. We got into that. And ever since, we've been doing the show.
You guys are really thorough, and not just like Premier League, not just Bundesliga. Like, how deep into leagues? Like, how many leagues do you actually follow? Because it's a real lot. Like, everyone talks about the four majors, but you guys go even deeper into that.
Well, it's sort of like by necessity what's going on. So, I mean, for me, the best competition is Champions League. Just watching it, gambling on it, it's just so fun to see the top teams from all the different leagues come together. But so that made us have to sort of learn about teams in Ligue 1 and the Portuguese league and the Dutch league. And like, you have to start just sort of knowing these teams, and you kind of got to figure out what they're about, just to have like a little bit of a prior when you come in and start to like handicap a game. You kind of want to know, how are they going to set up, what's the home atmosphere like? So you just have to know these sort of random things. So how deep does the knowledge go? Premier League's definitely the top. I'd say we know every team pretty well. And then it's like varies between us, but it's like Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga. I mean, it's the big ones, as you said. It's pretty rare that we're gonna dive into a Portuguese league game or an Eredivisie game for domestically, but it's like when they come up against Bayern Munich in the Champions League, we want to know what that might look like. It's funny because, I was a big sports fan of all these NFL, the NBA. Big sports fan of all those things, but as we've done this longer and longer, I just don't have the mental capacity to hold players and teams anymore, or interest really in so many other things. So like, all of my media diet is soccer based. I'm just like, every podcast, I sometimes will check in for like the NFL playoffs and NBA playoffs and want to know a little bit of what's going on, but I just don't have the like bandwidth to hold it all anymore.
All right, be honest. Before August of 2025, had you ever heard of Bodo Glimt?
We had, actually, because they had a run against Tottenham in the Europa League in the semis. So over two legs, we saw that one. And then the year prior to that, I think they made the quarters of the Europa League as well. So we had a little bit of an inkling. They play on a plastic pitch. It's in the Arctic Circle. We know these like random little facts we can like throw out. But I can't name more than 3 players on the team.
speaking of the above the Arctic Circle, my cousins are Swedish, and sometimes they listen in here, and we're going to try to get into Hammersby Djurgårdens, which is, I guess, the big Stockholm rivalry. So I'm trying to get above the Arctic Circle for later there.
Nice.
And
very nice.
You had to pick a team at some point. I know. I believe it's Jordan which one of you is a West Ham fan and the other one not? Tell us a little bit how you actually became a fan of West Ham.
That's me. I'm guilty of that charge. So I got the World Cup fever 2006. I had just moved to Tampa, Florida, and I didn't know anyone out there. So when I first got there, it was during the World Cup. I remember actually watching that final, the Zidane final, in a hotel with my mother because she went out there to help me move. And then I got into, then I was living there for a little while, and I was so into that World Cup that I was like, I got to keep this going. Like, what else can I watch? And then, you sort of hear at default, especially when you're not into it, that, the Premier League's the best league in the world. And I said, all right, well, I'll watch that. But as I mentioned before, they weren't showing a lot of it back then. It was hard to find. So I knew I was going to like something in the Premier League. Didn't want to pick one of the top teams that I'd heard of. It's like, it's got to be a team I've never heard of. So I started looking around. And then right at that same time, as I said, I was lonely. I didn't know anyone. So I was ordering a lot of Netflix. This is when Netflix sent you the DVDs by mail.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just seen, this is weird, I could totally remember this, Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one, had just come out. And I saw that, and I sort of got a crush on Keira Knightley from that.
So where are you going?
So I started getting Keira Knightley movies on Netflix. And one of the ones that came through was called Pure. It's a British movie from 2002 with Molly Parker and Keira Knightley. And the family at the core of this movie were West Ham United fans, and they show the ground, the bowling ground there in the movie. They go to some of the games. The kid gets a new kit for Christmas. I'm like, I like this color scheme. No one knows this movie. No one knows this team. This is going to be my team. And then I get another movie later on, not related to Keira Knightley, Green Street Hooligans, 2005. I watched both of these movies in 2006. I'm like, well, this is West Ham again. This must be the club finding me. So this became my club, and I've regretted it ever since.
That's what I was going to wonder.
Yeah. It's funny, when you mention Keira Knightley, immediately the soccer mind turns to, of course, Bend It Like Beckham. And I figured maybe you enjoyed that film and somehow West Ham factored in, but clearly there was something else. So that's interesting too.
I knew Green Street Hooligans would pop in. It's a really, for listeners who haven't seen it, it's a really good one. Charlie Hunnam and Elijah Wood, and it's Elijah Wood in a tough role. He's no Frodo. He's not scared and running away. He's going out there and throwing punches.
Yeah.
How dare you say Frodo's a coward?
Listen, it's Samwise Gamgee that pulls him through.
That is true. Frodo wouldn't have gotten very far without Sam.
He wouldn't have made it at all. He would have, I mean, it was Samwise. I can't remember. Is it Samwise that throws Gollum? No, Gollum just falls into the lava, biting his finger off. Back to this year. We
have taken such a turn here.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Fans of all kinds.
And now next on this,
Frodo.
we're talking The Hobbit. All 3 episodes. we did an episode on West Ham, and I went out there. They were up here for the summer series. And if you go back, we just played the episode. I met a couple.
I listened to it.
You did. You heard Louis.
Yeah.
Louis
Yeah.
was.
Yes.
He was really interesting. I was slightly scared. And on top of that, while Louis was talking, other people started talking and jawing at him. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna kind of. They were like,
it's not easy for you to fade into the background either.
No, I was like, the bald guy's gonna come way back here. I was impressed and at the same time slightly scared. All right, Devin, to you. You don't have a team.
Yes. I don't have a team. I mentioned Ronaldinho. For me, and it took me a while to come around to this, but it's like I like the players. I'm interested in the name on the back of the shirt instead of the front. Because the teams. I'll give a little brief story here. So I was when I was looking for a team, because that's the first thing people ask you. I'll be like, "Oh, I do a soccer podcast," and they're like, "Who's your team?" And I'm like, "I hate them all because I've lost money on every single one of them in the most annoying way possible. They've all wronged me." Then people sort of look at you weird. But when I first started, I was like, I wanted to find a team. I didn't want to do an obvious team. I didn't want to be a Manchester United fan. Everybody knew that kid growing up who was like a Lakers, Cowboys, and Yankees fan, and you're like, you're scum.
We used to
dude.
call
You
him
have
Freddie
no...
Frontrunner.
Yeah, Freddie Frontrunner is awful, and so I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm a Manchester United fan who was, the most dominant team when I started watching. But I like the English teams. Wanted to pick an English team. I was like, okay, well, I've been to London. Let's do a London club. Um, uh, and it was sort of like, well, Arsenal was really popular too because that was like the Thierry Henry Wenger era, and so that was like another like front running thing. So I was like, oh, I'll be a fan of this Tottenham team, London club, sort of an underdog. Like I had never heard of them till I started like really watching it, and then and they're named after a Shakespeare character, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yes.
I was like, oh, Hotspur.
He's a real
Yeah.
person. He really existed, Harry Hotspur.
Oh, really? Really? I thought he was just a Shakespearean.
Died in an epic battle. With Henry the Fourth. I swear, the rest is history.
Yeah, we got into that in the
We got into
episode.
that in our Tottenham
Yeah,
episode.
in the Spurs episode. Yeah. So I kind of was a Spurs fan for a while, and because they played attractive football and they had some really good players, and then when Pochettino came in, and I was like, oh yeah, then I really got more invested because I was suddenly like, wow, this team's really good. I'll never forget the Champions League run, beating Manchester City over two legs back in the away goals era. And I remember, this is so crazy for me to think about now, but Tottenham never beat Man City in either game. I think they lost once and drew once, and they still advanced because of away goals, which is they had to get rid of that. It was insane.
Back in the day, it was 2 goals. It counted as 2. If I forgot about that.
Basically, yeah.
And that was the Pochettino. Kane was on that team. Dele Alli, Christian Eriksen. It was a good team. And then they had an incredible comeback against Ajax in the semis. If you remember that, Lucas Moura scored like 3 goals. Maybe no one probably remembers these little things, but heartbreak for Ajax, but an incredible comeback for Tottenham. And then they lose in the final. And I was like, you know what? This was cool. The little team that I mean, I know they're a big club, but the smaller team that I thought was the underdog that I was going to be a fan of finally made the biggest tournament, my favorite, the final of my favorite competition. What do? They sack him in the summer.
Yep.
They sack Pochettino. They bring in Jose Mourinho, guy I've pretty much reviled in my entire watching. Negative football, not what I want to see. He comes into Tottenham. Immediately, it's awful. They sack him, and then I think it's like Nuno for a minute. Then it's Antonio Conte. It's also awful. It's just bad to watch, I should say. It's not entertaining. Sure, they're grinding out results. Like, okay. So I'm sort of waning in my fandom there. And then Big Ange comes in some time later. Instills a culture and identity. It's really fun to watch. We're betting overs and hitting them all the time, which is a key part. And I'm like, I'm kind of back on board. I'm like, you know what? This is fun. I like this Big Ange. He's got an attitude, and they just fucking go forward and try to score goals. This is great. This is what I want to see. Win Europa League. The biggest accomplishment of my short Spurs fan lifetime. What are they doing this summer? They sack him. What the hell are they It's so infuriating to me. And people are like, they finished 17th. We can get into that's a
They
whole
won
other
hardware
thing.
though, so that should still count. And
they won hardware.
It was fun to watch. It was really, I love that team.
And they sold the Premier League because they knew they couldn't go down. They weren't going to go down because the bottom 3 teams were so bad. So they said, oh, okay, well, we'll just fuck the Premier League. We'll just try to win Europa. They do. Incredible parades, incredible scenes. They sack them. And I was like, to bring in the fucking Brentford coach with the nice hair.
Thomas Frank.
Thomas Frank, thank you.
For Thomas Frank.
And I was like, And yeah, I don't really blame him, and then they've just been miserable this year, and now I hope they go down.
I
You're-
just said that to you over the weekend.
You did. It was the same thing.
I do. I think it would be the best thing for professional English soccer, right? It's like you can't be too big to fail.
It'll be Wrexham versus Tottenham. Well, Ryan Reynolds taking on whoever the coach is on the team then, because it's how many coaches they've gone through this year? 3. They've gone through
For Spurs?
for Spurs. They've gone through. It was Henry.
They're on the second only, I think.
Oh, second. Okay, I thought they brought in no. Nuno was on Forest and kicked out, and then Nuno
In the last year and a half.
in the
I think
last
it's
year and a
been
half.
three.
It was more.
So, long story short, I've been sort of on the fence about it. Now I'm just like, no, I'm done. I can't support a club. They're all run by criminal scum organizations. I'm a fan of the players. I like the
Yeah.
players. I like watching fun players.
You just said you like watching scoring. Would you consider the most fun team now, not fandom, but what is the most fun team you think in this current season to watch?
Spurs.
For all the wrong reasons.
They do make it interesting.
Oof.
This has been a weird season across Europe, really. Everyone seems to have gotten worse, really, from top to bottom. So it is a weird year. Most reliably, one of the most reliable teams at printing money for us and being entertaining would probably have to be Vincent Kompany's Bayern Munich.
Harry Kane. Yeah, he's been automatic. Of course, it's now like plus 500 if you even want to sniff it, even when they're playing a good team.
Oh yeah. They're tough to bet on, but we find ways. We find ways. But yeah, it's Bayern, PSG when they show up, and Barcelona is just great goals everywhere.
Yeah, I love Barcelona. I love watching that. You know, I we've talked about this before here. That Girona team 3 years ago, that was just every game was 5-3. That's what brought me in, and I was briefly a Girona fan. And then just like I didn't realize that they were a feeder team for Manchester City, and they just blew everyone up. And Savino went one way, and Miguel went another, and like that was devastating to me. So I'm agnostic on a team, and I keep getting pushed. Oh, aren't you an Arsenal fan? No, I just did a podcast on it. That's it. Are you Spurs? No, I just did the podcast on them. But I enjoy all of them, but I have not picked a team yet. We're trying to get to that.
Yeah, I don't feel it's interesting as Americans, right? Because we the teams for like basketball and American football that I'm fans of are just because I grew up there. I grew up in Arizona. I like the Cardinals and the Suns. And the people who aren't fans of those teams, maybe their dad was a fan and like passed it down or something like that. But with soccer, it's sort of new to us, so you kind of get to pick. We're not like really grandfathered in, so it's hard to stay loyal. Like I'm not gonna stay loyal through all this terrible shit I don't want to see. So it's different that way, and yeah, I'm kind of just opted out at this point.
There's also a wrinkle, like since I've been a West Ham fan, certainly in the social media era, it's been much easier to connect with English West Ham United fans.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've met a lot of people, a lot of friends across the pond. And it's funny, you kind of have two camps. There's a group of them who won't give you any credit at all for being a supporter because you're from America.
Mm-hmm.
They say it's not called soccer, it's football.
Right.
You live in Arizona, mate. You're not a fan. But there are others who embrace it and just kind of accept that fandom is pretty arbitrary in general. Like watching a Keira Knightley movie is inherently just as arbitrary as growing up down the street from the ground. Really.
Absolutely.
They're both pretty bizarre reasons to support a team.
The lottery of birth.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and it made more sense when like clubs and teams represented the sort of like style that they came from, like if it was West Ham was like or Liverpool, working class, where the sort of put upon people from Liverpool and this is the way we play our football and it represents us in some way, and it doesn't anymore. It's like these are multinational global corporations essentially. And so no, people are like, I grew up on this soil. It's like, well, okay, you're owned by people
in
in
the
a
Middle
Gulf
East.
state. Yeah, exactly.
Saudi well funded.
But once you're in, that's the thing. It doesn't really matter so much how you got there. Once your club is your club, you bleed the same as the rest of them, the ones who were born into it.
Speaking of family here, you guys have developed your own like little family, your own little pirate ship with the Discord channel, with your show. Do you do a lot of interacting with with your fans or with your friends, if you will? Like, how does that work with the people tuning into the show?
Yeah, we have a pretty good how to put it. I guess we have a loyal part of the listenership who are pretty active, and most of that does come through our Discord server. Guys are in there all the time, whether we are or not. I'm pretty involved in there. Dev kind of lets me be the Discord guy. Also, because I can't help myself, I have to have like 900 more bets in addition to what we had on the podcast. So I got to have somewhere to post them. So I'm in there regularly.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we got a great group in there. And we always say our listeners may be even sharper than we are. They're giving out winners all the time as well. So it's a good little community in there. It's free to join as well. I'm sure you can find a link in the description of this somewhere, or you can find it in the description of our show.
Give a shout here. Where could people go on the Discord here they can listen to as well? What's the Discord name?
It's just called the Soccer Sharps. You can find the link to join. It's an open invite. You can find that on our YouTube channel, any podcast app where you find us. It's in the description of every episode.
Excellent.
Very cool.
What is your preferred gambling platform, and what do you have available out there in Arizona and California?
Well, in Arizona, we've got the majority of, I call them the new age apps, right? So like the new age books. So your FanDuel, DraftKings, and then you have the traditional casino apps, MGM, Caesars, that's out here. My favorite across the board for soccer has to be Bet365. That's what I do the majority of my betting on. We're also big fans of Bet Rivers. They're good for soccer. But yeah, you got to shop around, though, because every once in a while, one of these books will just have a wildly different price on something. So we do advocate shopping around, but shout out to Bet365. They've got some nice perks there.
It was shopping around I got from you guys, actually. I listened to you guys, and I only do the FanDuel and the DraftKings. But I learned, I was like, you know what? I'm going to double check and make sure, see what the difference is there. Because it does make a difference. Sometimes you're right. They're wildly different. Like, a couple dollars worth,
Yeah, absolutely.
making sure you're shopping in there.
Yeah. And that's the thing that the real professional gamblers say. I'll say we're not professional gamblers. There are people that allegedly are doing only this to make all their money. But that's like a huge thing they always say is like, 4 cents difference on a price for a bet can be the difference between profitability or a loss. And so it is important to do that shopping. I think with FanDuel and DraftKings, I think the big thing with them is that they don't offer Asian handicap, which is like a huge part of what we talk about on our show.
DraftKings does now.
DraftKings does now, but FanDuel doesn't.
Yeah, so that just makes it a no-go for me because it's a little more complicated than like the typical spread and totals that we see that we're used to as American sports bettors. But it just makes it more accessible. The scoring in soccer is so low that you can't just do half goal and whole goal totals. You have to split it into quarters. So you'll see like a spread that's a quarter goal or 3/4 of a goal.
Right.
And then it becomes this other whole thing. We actually should probably do like a video about that.
I had to have the chart at the beginning when I started. I was like, okay, it's 0.25. If I do that, like it is. It's a lot more complex than American gambling.
And what you'll see sometimes is like they'll name markets differently. So, and they'll be priced differently. So you'll see like plus a half a goal on the Asian handicap is like -110. But the double chance for the same team is actually like -114. So you're actually getting a better price for the same bet. Yeah.
That happens all the time on DraftKings.
To answer your previous question, there's not technically legal gambling in California. So that's all I'll say about that.
For entertainment purposes only.
Correct.
Mr. Bill Simmons hasn't gotten that changed over there yet. He's not convinced.
Yeah, I'm sure
California
he's working on
legislators.
Yeah,
it.
you'd think he would, right?
I'm going to ask for some team superlatives here because you guys do watch a lot here. Whatever team, I'll let you guys both like a little lightning here of what team pops into your head when I ask these here. What team has a magic shoe up their ass?
That means like lucky.
Lucky, super lucky. They pull it out all the time.
Aston Villa.
Oh, that's a good one. I was gonna say Arsenal, but Aston Villa is a good one.
And then the most, and think currently, think of this current season, or, if there is a, because teams do change up their style of play, but if there is something that's a long-term style of play, most fun team to currently watch.
I'll go with Bayern.
Yeah, I was gonna say Bayern as well. I'll watch any of their games, even against the dregs of the Bundesliga. They're still a good watch.
Harry Kane.
And a small shout out for PSV Eindhoven. They're great to watch on their day. The problem is they get so far out ahead at this point. They're like 20 points clear at the top, so they're not quite as fussed about putting on a show.
And they're out of the Champions League, so they don't care anymore.
Right.
All right. What is the most boring team to watch? And Everton has gotten rid of, what's his name? So they're not slow anymore. But what's the most boring team to watch? Dyche. That was it, Sean Dyche.
Oof. There's a lot of candidates for this one.
Yeah.
Any mid-table La Liga team. No.
Yeah. That's such when Casey Keller is doing the color commentary
Yeah.
on ESPN.
Right.
My God. I mean, I love the guy. Seems like a nice guy, but it's just he's got a voice to put you to sleep, sing you lullabies. Not so much this season because they are playing differently, and I know you asked for current, but I'm just gonna say Manchester City in the past 5 years. And people say, "Wow, they're so great, they're winning." No, they were I'm aging just watching these games. Where it's just like ding, 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 passing to each other. They lull you to sleep, and it's just like a cross through to the back post, and they score and they win a lot, and they've won everything. But I just watching their games was awful for me. Although it is different this season, I'll say.
I like to remind everybody the New Jersey Devils won 3 Stanley Cups, basically playing a left wing lock, which has now been banned in the NHL. But the Stanley Cup for them is the same Stanley Cup that anybody else has won. So you take the hardware when you can get it.
That's what they say. That's what they say.
Curious, what is a left wing lock?
It's basically like a zone offense. It slows the whole game down, and it's a big bottleneck. And it worked because they had the greatest goalie on the planet in Marty Brodeur,
Yeah.
and Hall of Fame defenseman playing in front of him. But it was if you were trying to lure in casual fans to become NHL fans, it was not a good way to market the product.
So they banned that.
Yeah, basically, it's like the zone defense in basketball that went away for so many years and finally has come back.
It's if Sean Dyche started coaching
Yeah,
hockey.
it's basically like death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah.
Park the bus right there.
That sounds like Tiki Taka. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, not great to watch visually, especially on TV. But again, if you're a fan, and I have been for more years than they've even been in New Jersey, 3 cups are 3 cups.
Yep. That's right.
I'm not going to argue. The Duke University's most boring championship was that, I love John Shire, he's the coach now, was that John Shire's Kyle Singler team that was just really boring and slow. So a championship's a championship.
No team I've ever supported has ever won anything.
Ah!
So can't tell you what it's like, guys.
For real?
From Arizona, name me a championship.
Diamondbacks.
2001 Diamondbacks, yes. I don't care for baseball.
Well, all right. You had a chance.
Yeah.
I put one on a plate for you.
It may be a while there because I'm trying to think. Kevin Durant didn't really work out.
Oh, it's going to be a while, fellas.
It's gonna be a real while.
If the Cardinals or the Suns win a championship before I die, I will consider that a miracle.
Hey, Phoenix Rising won the USL title not too long ago.
I love that. That's one thing, we don't talk about the American leagues, soccer leagues, really, on our podcast, MLS or USL. there's so much potential there. I just don't get what it is. Why are there two leagues that are competing against each other and then they don't even meet in the cup where they're supposed to play? And it's, I don't know.
They're still trying to figure all that out.
I'm the same. I'm trying to get into the MLS, and I feel like a snob being like, no, I'm just going to watch the European, because there's just so much that I'm like, I'm just going to watch the top of the best players, and
Totally agree.
eventually I'll get into the MLS. But it's been hard. Mark, didn't you just say that they're going to change the schedule?
They are. They're going to mirror the European schedule starting in, I believe, it's summer 2027.
Yeah, they're going to do the world model, the European model.
So that may help to a degree.
We'll see. We'll see if Antoine Griezmann,
But
who I
again,
love.
you have all your superstars. They want to go and play in the big pond, so they're going to Europe. And
Yeah.
why wouldn't they?
And then when they
That's
retire,
where the money is.
The only team they go to when they retire is LAFC or Miami,
Right.
because they're the best two. Where does
Those are
everyone live?
the retirement communities. Yeah.
Yeah, they retire.
But we did have Henri on the Red Bulls.
We did. Yeah, Henri. That's true. That's true.
And Pele was on the Cosmos. I don't know if that was an MLS team.
No, they were North American Soccer League back then.
Oh, NASL. Yeah.
No, it was Mark. Mark was a big fan of the Cosmos back then.
I was there for the beginning when they were rock stars, and there's so many names that I could rip off right now, but a lot of people probably have no idea who I'm talking about
They go back and watch it on YouTube.
because they're young and I'm not.
Listen, age is just a construct. We're not.
Yeah, you keep dreaming that.
As I start dyeing my beard here,
Well, Sean, let me just jump in real quick. Remind everybody we are headed into extra time with the Soccer Sharps, and so we will pause here and then pick it up next time with Devin and Jordan.
This has been the Ultra World Podcast, the soccer fan's voice from the stands, with your hosts, Marc and Sean Castles. Our executive producer is Sue Zizza. Marc and Sean Castles are co-producers. David Shin is our master engineer. Assistant producer Avery Gehrig, and I'm Alicia Antwine. To be a guest on the Ultra World Podcast or learn all about sponsorship opportunities, send an email to ultraworldpod@gmail.com. Be sure to follow the show on all the social media platforms at Ultra World Pod. Copyright 2026. All rights reserved, Ultra World Podcast, LLC.